Everyone told me it was a dumb idea. You can't live on $5 a day, they said. You'll starve, or cheat, or just quit. But I wasn't doing it to go viral or win a bet. I wanted to feel what it's like to look at money with the kind of urgency most of us never experience. I had become so numb to spending, tapping my card, ordering takeout, upgrading things I didn't need. I wasn't in debt, but I also wasn't in control. So I gave myself a simple rule: $5 a day for food, transport, fun, everything. 1 week, no backup snacks, no dipping into savings. Just me, a $35 budget, and a hard reset. The first morning felt like a game. I pulled up a grocery app and started shopping in my mind, making lists, doing calculations like I was planning a survival mission. Then I actually walked into the store, and reality slapped me. Apples? Way too pricey. Granola bars? Luxury. Even rice had me doing math like I was on a quiz show. I left with a loaf of bread, some eggs, 2 bananas, and a bag of lentils. It was both depressing and weirdly exciting. I had never looked at a banana and thought, this is a treasure. And that's when I realized I had never really respected money. Not like this. I skipped coffee. I skipped the bus. I walked 3 miles because a round trip would have cost me half my day's budget. And suddenly, everything had weight. Every cent I didn't spend felt like a victory. But also, every hunger pang felt like a question. Do I really need to eat right now, or am I just bored? I wrote that question down in my notebook. It hit harder than expected. I realized I wasn't just doing a food challenge, I was doing a mindset cleanse. And it was only day 1. By day 2, reality started to settle in. The buzz of trying something new faded, and what replaced it was a quiet tension. Not panic, not pain, but a kind of constant background hum. I wasn't starving, but I felt fragile. A little slower, a little more aware. Like my brain had less space for unnecessary thoughts and more focus on basic decisions. Every move became strategic. I woke up and immediately thought about food. What did I have left? How could I stretch it? Could I trade anything? I knew I couldn't afford to eat just because I was bored. That was a luxury. So instead, I drank water. I journaled. I went for walks. I tried to occupy my mind with things that didn't cost anything. I even started reading a free ebook from the library just to pass time without thinking about food. At the grocery store, I became a hunter. Not for deals, for survival. I stared at price tags like a scientist solving a puzzle. Bananas, 39 cents each. If I bought 3, I had just over $1 left for anything else. One time, I stood in front of a bag of carrots for 5 full minutes, calculating how many meals I could get out of them. I used to spend more time choosing between 2 brands of chips. Now I was budgeting down to the cent, and somehow it felt thrilling. I had never been this in tune with my spending. Not ever. Then came the creative part. I didn't just eat rice and lentils. I turned them into little events. I toasted bread and sprinkled salt to make it feel like a treat. I mashed banana into oats and called it dessert. I fried an egg and pretended it was brunch. These little mental tricks helped. But what helped more was the sense of control I felt. For once, I wasn't letting money disappear without knowing where it went. I was choosing. I was steering the wheel. Midweek, something unexpected happened. I started feeling better. Not just physically, emotionally. I felt lighter, not bloated from overeating, not foggy from sugar, just clear. I realized how often I used food to avoid dealing with feelings, boredom, anxiety, stress. But now, I had to face all of it. I had nothing to hide behind. And honestly, it was uncomfortable. But it was also healing. The biggest surprise came on day 4. I was walking home, hungry, tired, carrying a small bag of groceries I had carefully picked out, 1 apple, a half loaf of day-old bread, and a can of beans. Nothing special, but I looked at that bag like it was gold. I had earned it. I had worked for it, not with money, but with discipline. And in that moment, I felt a wave of unexpected gratitude, not just for the food, for everything. My legs, my roof, clean water, a bed. It sounds cliché, but it hit me like a wave. I was surrounded by things I used to ignore. This challenge wasn't just changing my habits, it was rewiring my brain. And then something clicked. This isn't about $5. It's about attention, mindfulness, awareness. When you slow down and really look at what you eat, what you spend, what you think, you start to see all the places your energy leaks out. You start to see how much of your life is automated by habit. And when you interrupt that autopilot, even for a few days, everything sharpens. By day 5, I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was evolving. By day 6, something in me had shifted. I wasn't thinking about quitting. I wasn't even thinking about food as much. I was thinking about systems, patterns. Why we spend the way we do. I realize that most of the time, we don't spend money to meet a real need. We spend it to escape a feeling. Stress, buy a snack. Bored, scroll and click add to cart. Lonely? Food delivery. These habits are so ingrained, we don't even see them anymore. But strip away the excess and you're left with the truth. You're left with yourself. And for me, that self was actually pretty okay with less. On day 6 morning, I made toast and lentils and felt content. Not excited, not depressed, just grounded. I sat in silence and ate slowly. No screen, no rush. I felt a kind of peace I hadn't felt in years. That evening, a friend texted, "Wanna hang out?" I told him about the challenge. He laughed and said, "Man, just come out, it's one drink." But I said no, not because I couldn't spend the money, but because I had started to really value it. And more than that, I had started to value my time. I used to say yes to everything. I used to buy time with money. Now, I was learning to build time with discipline. On day 7, I walked past a bakery I used to go to all the time. The smell was insane. I paused. I thought about it. But instead of feeling deprived, I felt grateful. I didn't want the croissant. I wanted the freedom to choose it. And for the first time, I felt like I had that freedom. Not because I had more money, I actually had less, but because I had more awareness. That last night, I wrote something in my notebook that stayed with me. Poverty is not having too little, it's having no plan. And wealth is not about money, it's about clarity. I had spent 7 days living below the poverty line by most standards. But I had never felt more focused, more present, more in control. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying everyone should live on $5 a day forever. That's not the point. The point is this: we are surrounded by more than we realize: food, comfort, noise, options, and we take it all for granted until we strip it back. This challenge taught me that I don't need more income to be free. I need better habits. I need intention. I need a system that respects my time, energy, and money. Since then, I've kept parts of the challenge in my daily life. I still do low-spend weeks. I still journal every expense. I still pause before buying anything and ask, what am I really trying to solve with this purchase? You'd be amazed how often the answer has nothing to do with money. And here's the biggest lesson: freedom isn't when you can buy whatever you want. It's when you don't feel like you have to. And that kind of freedom, that starts at $5 per day.